sometimes we can try something new, immediately dislike it, put it to one side and never try it again. But it's always a good idea to try things more than once. Try them a few times before you make up your mind. Take this Pentel Japanese brush pen. I hated it when I tried it at first, really didn't like it at all. So off it went into my art material graveyard with a lot of other things. But Tara actually persuaded me to get it out again and have another go, which I did. And actually, I started to quite like it.
Basically, what you're saying is that I was right.
And in time, I loved it more and more.
You should always listen to me.
And now it's become one of my favourite pens to use in my sketchbook.
You see, I told you so.
I particularly love the variety of lines you can get with one of these pens.
So if you press really lightly with the brush pen, you get a really thin line. Press down slightly more and it gets thicker. And the more you press down on it, it gets thicker and thicker still. And obviously you don't have to do that all in one stroke like I'm doing here. You can also use it in a sweeping motion. So you could do thick and thin lines all together. And then if you use the brush in a quicker way, you can get more of a dry brush type effect.
They're so versatile, these pens, aren't they? They're amazing.
You can also rest your brush pen on its side and get an even thicker line. Sandra, maybe you should show the type of thing you like drawing with your brush pen.
So I'm drawing a face here, and actually I did a whole series of faces in my sketchbook using the brush pen. And I just love how the thickness of the lines work for the shadowed areas and the thinness of the lines work with areas like hair. You can see sort of, as I'm working away here, the variation that I'm using.
And I notice you've got pencil marks in the background here. Do you always do that for a brush pen drawing?
With a brush pen drawing, I find that as much as I love it, they're not necessarily very forgiving if you do put a line in the wrong place. So yeah, I just did a slight, just a drawing of the main lines underneath, just a light one, just as a reference really.
And I'm guessing this works quite well for you because you're used to painting, so you're very much used to using the brush and getting different line weights and stuff like that. Whereas someone who perhaps draws more, it would take a little bit more practice.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, works well for me. And you can see the hair here, how wonderful that works with the hair because of those very, very fine lines that you can, get with the very, very tip of the pen. And these sunglasses, you can really fill a big area in one stroke, which again works really, really well.
It's quite a graphic effect, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I suppose it is actually. Yeah, and I mean the shadows I think are what really make this more punchy, this particular drawing. And like the hair, that hair obviously is going to be very black and you can fill it in such a short amount of time. So it works so well. So now here I'm just accentuating the shadows and that will make it look more three-dimensional.
I love how that really pulls everything out. And putting those little fine lines just like to indicate sort of the cloth as well, haven't you?
Yeah. I say I did a whole series of these. I enjoyed doing them so much. I ended up with about 7 pages of these women. And here are some of them I did. And I love the headscarves. Really enjoy doing the headscarves. In fact, material and folds are great to do with these pens. And you can see the tiny little shaved sort of head little marks I've made on this lady. Again, it's just tiny little dots with the tip of the brush.
That's so effective. They are a really comic book sort of style. They remind me of.
Yeah, I think they could be. Very good for that, actually. But I never used to like it, and now if I didn't have this pen, I'd be lost. And you can see what a little bit of punch of colour makes a difference to these. I just added a little bit of a few bits of scrap brightly coloured paper I had lying around, and that made them really fun.
Did you do that underneath? Oh yes, you must have done those underneath.
Yeah, I did that one underneath. But then the other ones, I just put a little bit of the paper on the scarves and just brightened it up a bit. So I think anybody should have a go. Anything they think they don't like, try again. You might surprise yourself. Why not check out our previous videos, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss your Art Kick Sunday. Meanwhile, you can check out our podcast and find the creative challenges we have coming up at www.kickinthecreatives.com. Back soon.